Well, here we are in the second part of the Hoffman Morning Odyssey, and thought I'd do a little afterthought here. Basically, I do the walk at the river for about an hour, and then a lot of times I'll come here to this stream, and I basically am walking, how do we do this, barefoot in the water. And if you've heard of grounding or earthing, that's the advantage here, because the electricity that's flowing from the upper atmosphere to the ground, basically now that I'm barefoot, especially in water, salt water is even better, but the electricity is flowing voltage clearly through the body. Now in the past, shoes that weren't made out of, well, this is going aside a little bit, but shoes that weren't made out of rubber or plastic, that were made out of leather, that could hold moisture, those kinds of shoes actually would keep the grounding connection also. But we mainly have shoes now that don't do that. So this has to do again with people's disconnection from nature. As I mentioned a moment ago, our bodies are part of this, basically, not part of the upstairs world, right? The mental world. But anyway, animals in nature, for example, they don't wear shoes, they're barefoot all the time, they're walking on the ground all the time, the voltage is flowing through, and they're staying completely balanced. But with earthing, you know, we're told that, oh, you know, it'd be beneficial for you to do this for a certain period of time every day. And of course it is, but it should be all the time. It should be all the time, every day, all night. So we're functioning at a rather low level there in terms of the voltage. Now, there's other things like sun exposure, you know, sunlight, relating to vitamin D, as we call it. And, you know, you can hear advice out there that says, oh, you should have at least 15 minutes of sunlight a day to get your vitamin D. And it's like, no, you should have sunlight all day long. Just like all these plants, just like animals, just like everything else. Not 15 minutes. 15 minutes is a starvation diet, basically. And then people take vitamin D supplements to try to balance things out again, stuff like that. So anyway, oh, wow, what kind of bird is that? Anyway, the dystopia that we're in and all the multiple ways that we get things wrong, that we live in our heads, we don't take care of the bodies, we don't understand all these things. It's like, well, what can we really do about all this? Can you design something? You know, can you design a community or a town or a village or something like that? Well, the best thing to do would probably be to start destroying things. Yes, agreement. And getting rid of things. You know, what can we get rid of? How can we make the time machine go backwards, basically? So technology might be useful in some ways, for example, to avert natural disasters or things like that in desperate, dangerous situations, deflect asteroids from hitting the Earth, you know, move people out of the way of earthquakes quickly, things like that. But, you know, we're a long way from that. So basically our entire turgid history, you know, thousands of years, like I said earlier, starting with the Greeks, basically. If all that could be basically shit canned, and we'll say, okay, what kind of system would we design? Perfect paradise, what would it be? Well, I think it would be basically the Garden of Eden. It would be like Australian Aborigines, being together all the time, being connected with nature 100%, having family, children, extended family, love for everyone, societal customs that allowed people to always, well, you know, they didn't always get along. I won't say always get along, but basically to allow things to function in a healthy way. So they might have disagreements, you know, things like that, or little fights and bickering and things like that about stuff. But they had ways of handling that. Not the way, you know, that we do with wars and nuclear bombs and things like that. So I'm reminded of the Ulithi people in the South Pacific who aren't there anymore, but their way of dealing with squabbling, which was usually between the men and the women, because the women were doing most of the work, and they would basically get pissed off that, you know, the men aren't doing their share. And so they would say so, and what would happen is the men and women would separate for a while, a few days maybe, or a week or whatever, and then while they were apart, they would be writing insulting songs about the other side to vent their anger and state their position on these things. And then what they would do was they would get together, have a big party, sing these songs, get everything out of their system, laugh their asses off, and then hopefully everyone learned something, you know. And the men would go, God, we love these women. We, you know, they're right, and we were dragging our asses, and we're gonna, you know, try a bit harder. And then after a while, you know, they have to do it again. I don't know how often they did it, but anyway, in other cultures, there are ways to stop people from bragging and trying to get full of themselves and stuff like that. In Africa, for example, some people's, if the young hunter brought home a giraffe, say a giant animal, you know, for everyone to eat, you know, it's like he might feel the desire to show off, you know, they're like, hey, look what I did, you know. It's like, what would happen with that young hunter? They would come back with a giraffe, and basically everyone in the village would insult the giraffe. They'd go, that's the worst giraffe we've ever seen. How could you bring that back here? You know, which is intentionally a way to stop them from grandstanding and getting full of themselves. And we don't do that. We encourage kids to do that. So what else? You want to design this utopia. It's basically deconstructing a lot of what we have, using enlarged perspectives to understand things better, a broader view. You know, and I'm not talking about science fiction here, because science fiction usually misses the point. They usually don't get things right, with very few exceptions. So anyway, that's another subject. It's actually got my mind going a little bit, and I will do another one on this in a little bit. What kind of design a perfect culture could be. And you might think to yourself, well, nothing's perfect, Hoffman. How can any culture be perfect? You know, it's like, oh no, we've had them before. We forgot. So anyway, I'll leave it there.